Hi, my name is Rob Hale, and this is my final presentation for the AG History, Missions, and Governance class. I want to talk about one of the heroes of the AG, Lillian Trasher, who was born in 1887 in Jacksonville, Florida. And she grew up in Brunswick, Georgia, giving her life to the Lord at 9 years old. And she quoted herself at that time saying, "Lord, if ever I can do anything for you, just let me know, and I will do it." And shortly after that, her family would move to Asheville, Carolina, where the Lord would take her up on that offer. An evangelist named Maddie Perry invited her to work in an orphanage that took care of about 100 kids. And during her time there, she learned how to make clothes and care for infants and teach and more, and all on a shoestring budget. So during that time, I imagine from about the age of 11 or 12 all the way up to her graduating high school, she had this apprenticeship at this orphanage where I think the Lord was developing her for what he was going to do in her life and through her life. But shortly after that apprenticeship, she probably gets to about the college age and goes to Bible school in Cincinnati, Ohio. And shortly after that, she would become a traveling evangelist right out of school, where in her travels, she would meet a missionary named George S. Brailsford, who was a missionary to Egypt and operated out of Asiat, Egypt. And George would invite her to come be part of the mission in Egypt. And she said yes. And it was her friends and the churches that she had a relationship with that paid her way to go to Egypt. It wasn't a missionary board or anything like that. It was the people that knew her that pulled together and paid her way. So she gets to Egypt and she begins studying the Arabic language and pondering, why am I here? What's my ministry going to look like? What is God trying to do through this? And a few months later, she was called to minister to a dying woman, called to her bedside as she died. And the dying woman had a newborn baby that she was leaving in this world. And Lillian would care for that child. And it led to Lillian starting the Lillian Trasher Orphanage in Asiat, Egypt. And during the 50 years that Lillian operated the orphanage, thousands of Egyptian children and families received food, clothing, housing, spiritual care, and education. And this won her the respect of the Egyptian government as well as the community. And since 1911, the Lillian Trasher Orphanage has provided hope and a loving home to more than 25,000 children. I just think that's incredible. In 1919, she affiliated with the Assemblies of God. But her tireless work with the orphans in Egypt led her to be known as Mama Lillian or Mother of the Nile to that culture and to us today. So man, I just love this story so much. I think it really struck a chord in my heart and convicted me in a lot of ways, but it inspired me. I think it's a testimony of someone walking out a true faith. At that early age, it started with her love of Jesus. Anything I can do for you, Lord, just tell me and I'll do it. That childlike faith, but it was so real. And she really, as she grew up, she really meant it. She really lived by it. So I think what stood out to me is that she gave up control of her life to Jesus at that young age, and she took the necessary steps to equip herself. She went to Bible school because she knew she wanted to share the gospel. So she did, and then she got equipped. She learned. She got an education, and then she began living on mission for Jesus. And she went to Egypt before she knew why she was going. Really, she just knew that she was going to share the gospel. But what I think is amazing was that when she got to Egypt, it wasn't like she had this grand revelation where God came through the clouds and said, "Lillian, this is what I want you to do." God spoke through a need. She saw a need and she stepped in and made a difference. And that willingness to just say yes of Lillian's impacted thousands. and it's still impacting us today. It's impacting me here in Montrose, Colorado. And I think of the invisible threads that God wove into her story. I think of the ministry of Maddie Perry. I think of the ministry of George S. Belsford, and the ministers that opened doors for them. So I think God loves to use people to open doors for others to step up into their calling. And this story really moved me, and it inspired me to be part of God's bigger story in His kingdom here on earth. So thanks for listening, and have a good day.